What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about my first week in July of learning Spanish. I do have a couple of notes here just so I don't kind of forget what I'm trying to go over there. But basically this week was very, very good. It was getting into the swing of Spanish and what I wanted to do. I wish I would have started the week the way that I ended the week. But again, it was just getting into the habit. When I originally started, I was like, I just want to hit 3 hours a day. And then honestly, there were days where I hit the 3 hours and I was like, all right, cool, let's do some other stuff. Like stuff, it wasn't just like, let's lay on the couch, but like some other stuff that I wanted to do. And then as I got into it, I just wanted to not stop ever. So for the week, I got 27 hours and 22 minutes. I use an app called a timekeeper or a time tracker. And I go in there, start it, go do whatever I'm doing on my computer, or if I'm using something on my phone or watching something on TV, whatever the case may be, and then I just stop it. So yeah, 27 hours and 22 minutes, which I'm overall pretty happy with. If I continue at this pace, I will hit, I think roughly around 117 hours-ish for the month, but you know, obviously we'll see. I've got some things potentially coming up, so we'll see how that goes. Things that I did this week were pretty simple. I did a little bit of Anki, but I'm not totally into the swing of that just yet. I did watch some TV shows, and I'm doing it with subtitles, but I'm not being an idiot like I was last year. I actually have two different ways that I go through immersion, which I'll talk about in a second. And then I did some reading, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then I did some Duolingo as well. So that's kind of the course of what I did. And the reason that I have these three things is because this just keeps me moving forward, and it's not spreading myself too thin, trying to do this app and this app and this app and this and all that, or whatever, you know, watch this and watch that one. So it's just an easy way for me to go, because I'm only watching two shows right now. Both serve a different purpose. And then, like I said, the reading and stuff like that. So we'll start with Duolingo, just get that one out of the way. Everybody hates Duolingo, and that's okay. I actually found this week a lot of use in Duolingo, and I'm going to tell you why. It's not that it necessarily taught me vocabulary per se, although it did. There are some words, like even, you know, just some different things that I can recognize now that I couldn't a week ago. I wish I could think of one right off. I should make examples of these, that way I could tell you. Because like I'm being serious. There's things I can recognize, but it's like I don't remember what the word is because I don't remember what the English word is because I don't remember what the sentence was. But it's just there are words that I know now that I've learned. But the big thing that I learned this week was going through past tense stuff. I went through a section, like I don't know how many lessons I did. Maybe I should keep track, maybe not. I did some. But I went through a lot of past tense and a lot of preterite and imperfect. And the cool thing about that is, before the week started, I was like, part of the reason I didn't want to go back to Spanish is because, or like one of the things that I kept weighing in my head over the last little bit was, do I want to go back to it? Because the verbs are so hard. And the verbs are still hard, but I never thought that I would be in a place where when I'm watching something and I see the verb, and I see the ending, I know it. Now, that doesn't mean I can recreate it. That doesn't mean that if I'm telling you that I spoke to someone at a certain point, if I know I should use, if I should use hable or hablaba, but I can recognize those in speech when I'm speaking. Now, I know that comes with time. I know that over the course of immersing and stuff like that, and just being involved with the language, speaking the language, you pick up those little subtle nuances. I don't have those just yet. I've had a little bit of explanation, but again, I think it's just something I'll have to get the feel for. However, when I see that now, I'm not like, oh, is that this, or is that that, or is that that, or is that that, or is that that? I don't know. Like I know, okay, I know that it's past tense, and I even know if it's preterite or imperfect, but I still don't quite understand the subtle nuances. From what I understand, imperfect is like you used to do something. Like for example, like I don't know, de niño hablaba con mi madre. Like when I was young or when I was a child, I used to speak to my mom, I guess would kind of be the subtle nuance there. Any Spanish speakers, feel free to correct me. And then the preterite would be like if you were talking about like for example, like ayer comi las manzanas. Yesterday I ate apples, something like that. So it's like it's like a kind of getting there, but I'm not really. And that's about it. And I am doing, so there's a YouTuber named Evan Ettinger. A lot of people have seen, he's not a language YouTuber, but he does stuff about Duolingo German. And I actually am taking his method of Duolingo where a lot of people go through and they just do one. They just get it to level 1 and they go. But I've actually really found his method of what he calls cascading. I'm sure he didn't invent it. I don't even think he said he did. But basically, I'll have a couple that are at a certain level. So also my Duolingo tree was already like almost halfway down. It's just a lot of stuff was 1. So I actually just went back to the past checkpoint. I'm slowly working up, but like the last checkpoint is kind of where I'm starting to make sure everything's good. Because everything before that was a lot of like, I eat apples, that kind of stuff. Or I have a dog or something like that. And so from that last checkpoint, which I think is checkpoint 4 or maybe 3, I don't remember. But anyway, that's where I'm making sure. So I have like, now, the way that I've worked it, I've got some that are 3, some that are 2, some that are 1, and then that last row that I'm working on. And I find that works really well, and because that actually makes Duolingo like an SRS system where you're going through and you have some that are, that the next day, you got to get at least 1 or 2 up to the next level. That are 3. Like today, I'll probably get at least 1 3 to a 4. I'll get a couple of my 2s to a 3. I'll get some of my 1s to a 2. And from where I'm not doing them every day, I'm doing them as they kind of fall in line. Well, it's like a natural SRS. It's probably not as accurate as Anki, obviously, because that's literally what it's designed for. But it's a way to make Duolingo kind of an SRS system, and you're slowly leveling them up. And the constant practice, honestly, especially for a language like Spanish with the verbs and stuff like that, has been amazing. Like that, I've probably seen several thousand examples of past tense stuff, and just literally just hammering it in so hard, it's just slowly started to make a little bit more sense to me. So that's it for Duolingo. The other thing is with Anki, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to use Anki right off, and then finally I was like, I might as well. I've made 44 sentence cards, and I do go through those. But what I'm doing for immersion, actually, because like everybody says, right, immersion is nature's SRS system, right? So if you do an immersion properly, you don't necessarily need it. I am using Anki, and mainly what I'm using Anki for is words that I really want to make sure that I remember. Like what was it the other day? Somebody said like something like prueba de fuego or something like that. I think it was, which is basically like trial by fire or something. It's like something kind of, I may be confusing the word because I should have wrote this down, but like it's something like that. But anyway, and so I was like, all right, that's kind of an interesting topic. And like some of the TV shows that I watch, I could see that being used. So I'm going to write that down or jot that down in Anki. So that's the type of stuff that I will look for. Not like if it's like, not if I understand everything except for the word walkie-talkie. If I see it again, cool. If not, but it's like not a lot of stuff that I would watch would say the word walkie-talkie. There may be a walkie-talkie in it. Like if you're watching like a cop drama, they might be talking, but they're not gonna be like, hey, get your walkie-talkie and talk to me. They just talk, so that kind of thing. But so that's what I'm doing for that. But the way that I'm actually going through immersion is I have 2 shows. One is Las Leyendas or Leyendas, Leyendas. Still working on the pronunciation there. And then the other one is La Casa de las Flores. And basically the way that I'm using those is like this. Las Leyendas is what I am using for my, I can't remember what it's called within the world of immersion, but like kind of like this deep state immersion, so to speak, where basically I'm using that show because it's a cartoon and they speak really clearly and they are, it's just done, it's just a little bit easier to understand. There's a lot of stuff I understand in it, I guess because maybe it is geared towards kids. It seems like, it's about like ghosts and stuff, but I could see it being like a kid's show, but it's enjoyable. But I'm going through every single line of that show. If I don't know a word, I look it up, and just slowly over the course of going through things, I've learned a lot of words just by doing that. Like just as I go through the show, I will just be like, okay, there's a word I don't know, there's a word I don't know. And I'm using Learn Languages with Netflix for that. And I know I said I was going to, I do plan on doing it this weekend. I am going to make, or this week. a video on how I use that. And basically every word that I come across, if I know it, I make it green. If I don't know it, I make it red. And if I've never seen it, it's white. So therefore, if I go through a sentence and I'll read it and see what I know, if it's a white word, if I know it, boom, I'll just mark it green. If I don't know it, I may try to figure it out from context. And then if I can't figure it out from context, I'll look at it, look it up. I'll make a mental note of it, maybe say the sentence. I'll repeat the sentence a couple times perhaps, and then move on. So that's the way that I use that. So that's kind of like more of a deep immersion, like more of like a study, so to speak. And then La Casa de las Flores, I'm using as like my listening practice. And I usually will only do about 30 minutes of that a day, because I am getting listening practice from some other stuff, but I will watch that and just kind of let it just go. And like, I won't stop it. I won't pause it. I don't have subtitles on. Like, I'm paying attention, trying to just get used to the sounds of the language. And that's what I'm doing from there. Now, there are some other things I do for listening. I just don't count them when I count my stuff, because that's like active stuff. I still, when I go out somewhere, if I'm driving, I will have some sort of Spanish on. That way I'm slowly getting used to it. But I don't count that as like study time, because that's kind of an in and out thing. Just like when I was at work, you know, I like before I started working from home, doing what I'm doing, and like I would listen to stuff and I would let it come in to my ears, and then I would be blocked out for a second. So I don't count any of that stuff. But anyway, that's how I use immersion of those two shows. The other thing that I did was read Percy Jackson. I did finish chapter 1, and it was a little bit tougher than I thought it would be, because I definitely thought Percy Jackson would be easier than Harry Potter. But honestly, I may have had an easier time with a little bit of the Harry Potter that I read a while back. But I don't know. It's tough. I do think that had I not read the book before, I don't think that I would have made it through chapter 1. But from where I had read it, like, I still made it through chapter 1 in a couple days, and I feel pretty good about that. As far as vocabulary learned, I don't know if I would say that I learned any like, there's nothing I can think of right off. Of course, I can't think of anything right off with Duolingo or any of the shows that I watch either. But specifically with Link, the way that it's designed, I can't remember marking a word yellow that I didn't know that was blue that I had never seen before, and then changing it to like that I knew it, because there wasn't a whole lot of vocabulary that came through. There wasn't a whole lot of vocabulary that came through that was used over and over and over. But the thing that it did do is strengthen some of the words that I already, because I did know a large portion of it. And then also seeing the grammar concepts with, especially like reflexive verbs. And then of course, a lot of things, if you want to learn how to conjugate decir, books are great, because almost after every sentence is like a le dije, le dijo, like they said, he said, she said, whatever said. And so that helped a lot. But if nothing else, man, just getting into the swing of reading, I think really, really helped. Seeing words in different situations. And of course, just like anything with, I can go 3 or 4 sentences in Las Leyendas and I know everything perfectly. And then I might hit a sentence where if there's 10 words, 8 of them I don't know. And that's the same thing with Percy Jackson. I would go through, I could go through a paragraph and know everything but 2 or 3 words. And then the next sentence would literally almost all be brand new words. And that's just kind of what happens. But overall, really, really happy with the way that went. The only other thing that I did do is I'm a really big fan of the Speakly app. I tested it on the channel. I did a live stream of it. And I finally found out how to reset progress. And I was kind of in a weird position. I used it once. I used it for about 10 minutes, and I'm not going to use it. And it's not because I don't like it. It's because with my Spanish, I'm in a weird spot where I can test out in Speakly. I absolutely can, and then it'll put me where it thinks that I am. The problem is that passes me over words that I may or may not know, because that has me, when I did the test out of Speakly, it put me at intermediate 1 in Spanish, which I think I'm okay in Spanish. I give myself a little bit harder of a time. I can't really speak it very well, but I can understand a lot of Spanish, or a lot more Spanish than what I'd probably even give myself credit for. But the problem is, originally I had reset it because I finally found out how you have to go to your language settings, and you can hit test out. Even if you've already tested out and it tells you where you're at, you can hit test out again, and it'll actually let you do it again. If you hit don't know on all of them, it'll reset you back to just zero words known. And so I did that, and then I was like, you know what? But man, that's going to take so many hours to just get back to a point where I'm at words I don't know. And then instead of spending 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 hours in an app, literally just going over stuff that I already know, because it's not even going to be like, oh, you know what? Like even like the past tense stuff that I'm doing right now, like it's not even going to be stuff like that. It's going to be like, hola, ¿cómo estás? Mucho gusto. Like that kind of stuff over. And it's like, I don't need, like that stuff is so embedded in my head from even being a child, just from having like so much Spanish influence in America. Like I don't need that stuff. And I felt like that was a waste of time. And so I tested out again, and it put me at, like I said, intermediate 1. And like the first 2 or 3 sentences, it was like, oh, say that, you know, here's your words, or say this. And I was like, but I don't know this stuff. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm just not gonna use it, because I don't want to start over. And then I also don't want to, I don't want to be ahead of where I'm at. So I think I'm just gonna stick with what I'm doing, because it's working. Duolingo for a little bit of study, a little bit of, especially with grammar points. Duolingo, I think, is great with grammar points. They have the stories and stuff like that as well. And then stick with my immersion the way that I've been going, and continue reading a little bit, and I think I will be good. So that is week 1. I did not expect to record for 17 minutes. I feel like that should have been like a month update, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, as of right now, like I said, 27 hours, 22 minutes studied, and we're going to keep on going. So if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. And I think that's going to wrap it up from here. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.